Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 14 of LJL Spring here on LJL OU. I am Brackish Brit, and welcome to my study. Settle in, join me, lovely, warm, cozy, on my Sunday morning hosting slot. And I'm joined by Mass Swan and Max Formal for the first two games of the day. What do you think about my setup, guys? I went Max Formal.
Uh, I want you to tell me what those books behind you actually are, and how many of them you've actually read.
That's Encyclopedia Britannica.
Okay,
I
cool.
think it's
Yeah,
only about half of the. I think it's probably about half of them. I think I only got up to H so far. I'm getting there,
ah,
but
it's a very casual reading then. Just relaxing,
oh,
casual. Just try.
what I love to do is, there's brand new cigars on the desk. Go and
Of course.
grab a drink, grab a book, and just flick to a random entry. It's very enlightening.
You know that getting a drink might be a little bit necessary tonight because I had a look at some of our games that we're seeing here, Swan, and we could be in for some unique ones. Let's just say.
That's definitely one way to put it, May. I am slightly terrified for some of these teams and slightly optimistic for some of these other teams, so I can't wait to get into it.
And quite importantly to take note of, today's games will mark the end of the second round robin before we begin the grand march towards the end of the season. Obviously, we're getting super weeks coming forward. We've got games coming up tomorrow, and will continue to be as such. If we could have a quick look at standings then, as we march towards that end of the second round robin.
Yeah, my big question as we do get closer to the second round robin is which of these 7 teams is really going to have that best chance at taking down DFM because they've looked so dominant still so far. And I know this is probably the tired storyline, who can beat them, blah, 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 but they all get one more chance, right? And for a lot of these teams, I feel like more in the middle of the pack. I think that's an important chance that they have to go for. The teams like Burning Core, Crest, Sengoku, who are kind of in the thick of it. Yes, they obviously want to beat those rivals in that mid card right now, but if they can dethrone the top, that will just increase their playoff chances so much.
Question is, obviously, a week today we saw that Rascal Jesters were the ones to knock DFM from their high pedestal, but since then, nobody else has been able to match that level of performance. We will, of course, see if that can come to fruition today. It's CGA against DFM at the end of the day. CGA been looking pretty good, but it's still DFM, and one loss does not suddenly make this team far worse than just far worse. I was trying to make some kind of grand analogy, but it didn't really go anywhere.
No, kind of crashed, kind of went boom. Now it's gonna be an interesting day. I
Do you
think
know
for
what went
sure.
boom formal?
Yes,
V3 split.
true.
And also we could talk about, actually, let's also segue this towards game one, because
Okay.
we've also got the crash, the boom, the Fukuoka
The
SoftBank Hawks
surprising one.
Gaming spring split. And there was hope last week because the Hawks put on a really, really good showing against Axis in their third win, the only win not against V3. And we were kind of sitting, hoping, coming into this week, are the Hawks a team now? And they had a really, really, really tough schedule. Like, they played DFM, Sengoku, and now Burning Core. So not easy games, and we were looking at kind of the manner in which they played those games. Like, even if they lost, to see if there was some semblance of hope for them still. Do you, Lexi, how do you feel about their performances in the previous two games and their chances coming into this one?
So, I mean, from a Hawks perspective, they've only played one game since their win over Axis, so I feel like wow. No, it's not. God, no, I'm completely
Whatever
on
Axis
the
was
wrong.
last Sunday, wasn't it?
It was the
They played.
11th. So it was it was the last Sunday. So I mean, they've played 2 games, one against DFM, one against Sengoku. They looked okay for the first 10 minutes in both those games. DFM far less so, but Sengoku, they had at least a decent early game against them before it all completely fell apart. So I'm of the opinion that, I mean, Burning Core is probably the bar. They are probably best of the worst, or worst of the best. Yeah, let's go with that latter one. So I mean, this is a perfect competition for them. Burning Core on a downward trajectory, Hawks on a slightly upward one, and this was meant to be the super team, Brackish. This was meant
Yep.
to be the team to take us all away. But it seems like they haven't even got to step one yet. But Blank being able to actually gank for once in a game gives me some hope.
Okay, I want to push back a little bit because, like, yes, they're supposed to be that super team, but you can't say they haven't shown anything. I think realistically, the biggest problem with the Hawks
They
is they'll show
Oh,
moments. They have moments.
do not agree with you at all, sir. Remotely, 3 and 10 or whatever they are is not an
my
acceptable scoreline.
No, it's not. And I'm not saying that they're playing at all remotely to the ceiling that we thought they were going to be at. But my point is they have moments in these games where it looks like things are starting to come together. As you've been talking about recently, the
Moments.
early games have been gelling at the start of the season. It was the late game where sometimes they did look all right. They just haven't been able to put together the complete game.
Yeah, because they can't get past 14 minutes without everything falling apart. They make 10 minutes look good, not to 14
Yes.
though, and that's my concern.
And that's a valid
Yes.
concern. But to say that, like,
Yes.
I don't know, maybe I just want to be
This is the
optimistic. I
Hawks
thought I was going to
copium.
be the negative one today. Yeah, I'm on the
He's
copium.
not been on the broadcast for a while, lads. The copium's strong with formal for the Hawks.
Hey,
I
I
don't know why, I
had
was
arguably the worst Hawks game on this broadcast already, where they spent 45 minutes
Yeah.
doing absolutely nothing, but they were in it for those 45 minutes, even though they never had a chance throughout. So
the game happened around them though, Max. Like we can't really attribute that much to the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks, right? And I'm kind of with you on this one, Lex. Is like I appreciate the supporting a team, but at what point do you have to say that it is just kind of,
when I make my
at
prediction,
what
Burning
point
Core's
do you
going to win
go?
this in 20 minutes.
Okay, I was about to say, at what point does it become, you're the dog sitting in the room that's on fire, just going, "This is fine."
No, it's not fine. It's terrible. I just wanted to say they've had a couple good moments, but apparently they're not even allowed that. It's just all fire. You guys are ruthless, all right? I want them to see something positive in
Mate,
themselves, something to build around.
Then show me
There's-
it.
There's
Like, that's
5 other
exactly it.
teams we're allowed to be positive about. This is one of the 3 we're not allowed to be. Because on the opposite side, for Burning Core, in actuality, I've got more high hopes for them to win this game. And if anything, like, they should smash it. I think it's going to be faster than their previous telling, which was in 36 minutes. So a very long Hawks game time. Now, with them winning a few more matches, their game time is coming down. Their overall game time is coming down. This is good. This is good. This plays into Burning Core, who have an average game time of 31 minutes. And let's be real, when it comes to those first few objectives, they have a far higher percentage of actually securing them. Their first Dragon percentage, actually, no. Their first Dragon percentage in the last 5, Hawks are smashing it. Well, I mean, I don't even know what's going on now. Hawks just can't even do anything.
This is going to be the game. I was coming
It's
into
gonna
this
break me,
all
mate.
ready to be pure Burning Core. They're going to win. They're going to be fine. I do have trust in Dice and Flawless in particular, and not to mention Ray Farkey. Like, I have trust in that team. But after hearing how much you guys now hate the South Bank Hawks just because they weren't as good as you thought in your initial predictions, no, this is going to be where they turn things around.
It's not hatred. It's just it's almost
Disappointment.
desperation for me. It's almost
It's
desperation for
venom.
me at this point. Like
Yeah.
you're meant to be better than this. You were the chosen one. Like
Exactly.
this is the exact the situation here, and we're just waiting for the Hawks to turn it on. But they've just been kind of spinning wheels for the entirety of spring so far. We're getting on towards Champion Select then, guys. So we will find out if the Hawks can actually find first gear, or if they will continue spinning on the start line. Take it away.
I say one positive thing. One little, and it wasn't even a detailed positive thing. It was the most minute positive thing, and everyone
You're not
jumps
allowed
down my
moments.
throat.
No good moments for the Hawks. They need to have more than like momentary victories and wins over the V3 to really start impressing me, mate. That 3 is actually a 1 in my eyes.
That's, and I can understand that argument. And again, the game that I was able to broadcast and cast before, it was probably one of the worst games of professional League of Legends I've ever seen. and the Hawks lost it, which kind of says a lot. But I believe this time they can turn it around because of that early game start, and perhaps they're going to be able to keep it together. But obviously, we didn't even really talk about Burning Core and what their strengths have been because we got, I kind of sidetracked us all. So, like, as we're going through, like, this pick and pan phase, in which facet, which lane is going to be that lane, do you feel, that actually just puts the Hawks down?
I mean, honestly, it's probably going to not be the man that has a lane. It's going to be Flawless on this Diana, one of his larger champions that he's played since he came to the LJL. And honestly, a favorite of mine. We're locked in with Leona. The sunrise and the sunset. My fandom and main champions get picked for Burning Core. I'm in heaven here, honestly, Formal. But seriously, like, Burning Core are just going to go draft a dive comp, and they're just going to probably make the life of Dasher and Marble absolute hell, and they're just going to win this game. Flawless has been having a fantastic time, and Blank just... he hasn't really got it going, sadly. He hasn't been able to work with Reiner, he hasn't been able to match up with Dasher, and really kind of bring the whole game together. I'm waiting to see that more than anything else.
I don't see. Here's where, like, I don't know how much of the fault is realistically and fairly put on Blank for this team. Obviously, I will say a fair bit of it. Whereas the problem that I don't think has been Blank's decision making. I think it's been the communication around it. Because often when I'm watching this team, I am seeing Blank specifically through that early game make moves that I would feel be correct, but not with the backup of the team or not with the support of the team. Whether they've been incapable to put the lanes in the correct state or whether or not, you know, the timings have been wrong. So it's always been like a so close but not quite there for me when it comes to the Hawks. And again, when you're against a jungler like Flawless, who I'm talking about on like that more comfort pick as well, who will punish every single one of those jungle mistakes, I completely understand that argument that, yeah, Burning Core, there's a good chance that they are going to be going for that dive. But that's also why I like this Tahm Kench pick, because it does seem to be that the Hawks might be expecting it a bit.
Yeah, and I think they're drafting pretty face up our Burning Core. They drafted that Yasuo for the combo Wombo Nation that is the mid lane Diana Yasuo. And we saw dirty things be done on that before. Something I want to mention as well is you could kind of use the argument for Blank not being directly with the team. He's still playing from Korea at the moment over the internet with about 150 ping. But as is Flawless and Dice. Like, you literally can't even use that as an excuse versus Burning Core, because 2 out of the 3 members are playing remotely at the moment. They still aren't with the team until they can actually get in and play together. And we don't have stage, obviously, at the moment, so we're all remote broadcasts, and it's just one of those things. Second pick and ban phase, huge focus has been thrown onto Dasher, as he is one of the main carries, and honestly, he's one of the few players on Hawks that typically do look good, at least from a stat line. The problem is he seems to do a lot, get a lot of gold, and sometimes struggle with actually converting that into objectives and wins. Weirdly enough, Hawks actually missed a ban.
This isn't
and
looking
that's
good for my...
like, super open now for Burning Core just to take, and then they don't even really get punished by the Jinx and not having a ban there. That should have been an Aphelios, I feel like, 3rd, 4th rotation, 5th rotation even.
Well, they might have dodged a bullet then, or in this case, I don't know, whatever it is that Aphelios is shooting from that gun, because
he's another moon champion. He should have been picked. They would have had the trifecta. I'm so mad. So mad right now.
Yeah, I can't...
Oh!
Yeah, that is true. Look, I'm just looking at this right now, and I'm thinking, I'm kind of with you, because I thought the Aphelios Leona lane actually would have been quite strong, more against that Kench, because it has some of that lockdown capability that even when you do see the AD carry get consumed, it's not like the Kench can kind of get away. Granted, Xayah does have a bit more individual flexibility, and considering the nature of this Dives comp, it's nice to have that self-peel, and that's something the Aphelios might not have been able to give themselves, so maybe a bit of a more conservative pick coming from Burning Core, but no one else on the team is picking conservative right now.
I don't even think they know the definition of that word in English, mate. Let's be real here. It's this is just balls to the wall, like, I want to get on top of you versus I want to awkwardly peel and side lane against you. Hawks have drafted like 2 identities here, but they didn't really want to commit to one, which is
awkward.
Yeah.
It kind of falls into the like nature of the Hawks though, where again like communication and synergy just has been their downfall. I feel like throughout this entire season, and even that Tom Kent sort of pickup right now for Reyna, like while it's good to kind of counteract that dive, I don't really feel it fits Reyna's playstyle too much because Reyna's always wanting to be like super roamy and kind of moving around and then often getting caught out and then bad things happen. But like I don't know, it seems a much more stagnant champion. Maybe it's sort of a change of approach for the team, especially when you look at how they put it together. So much of the Hawks are going to be relying on Blank, I feel like, to not only be the initiation, but to kind of be the protection as well until we hit level 6. This is very much a Blank comp.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I just feel like this was drafted with one idea in mind, and then they kind of pivoted halfway through the draft and kind of put themselves into this weird spot. The Vex pick is kind of weird to me. Like, that's dive, but not super counter dive. And honestly, I would have preferred an Orianna there. Something like that along those lines. It would have allowed, but you've got a ball carrier with a Hecarim, so you know you can get it into the middle. And I mean, it's also a champion that makes him look good on stats, which also helps.
Was Zillion banned? Because Zillion would have been my go-to in this situation.
Zillion would have been sicko mode. Actually, I love the Zillion idea, especially with the revive as well. That would have been a great angle for a Zillion. Yeah, and it's anti-dive. We're just saying more champions which were better than what the team drafted.
Yeah, it's always good when you can just think of them off the top of your head, like, oh, that would have been nice. That's like, you know, like the kid at the candy store. It's like, I want to take this one. I want to take this one. And then your mom comes out with a box of raisins instead and goes, here you go, Sonny. That's kind of what I feel like the draft was, unfortunately, for the Hawks.
Raisins either, is it? It's not chocolate, not yogurt. Ugh. Awful times.
Yeah, it's the rough ones. That said, it does look like we are getting into game on for our first affair of the morning. If you're watching from EU, which I'm assuming most of the people are, for me, it's game time. We're at 7:00 p.m. It's nice. The sun's just set. And if you're in North America, what are you doing awake?
Yeah, you probably want to go to sleep, but I mean, we already had one of our members and colleagues in the arms of Chris Edgeworth himself was helping us out this morning, and he was like, I'm going to go to bed after I watch a few of these games. And I'm like, that's a good idea. I want to bring back to a point that you set up earlier, and then we went on a tangent, mate, because I think we started just kind of trying to figure out what is going on here. You asked about Reyna, rather. Got to get that trill going as well in the voice. Reyna. Such a satisfying phrase to say. Part of the idea of Tahm Kench is he's far more of an engaged champion. If you've ever seen Core JJ play Tahm Kench in the LCS, he is all about just being the frontline engager, bruiser, attacking champion, and really getting into the face. So I agree with you. This is not the typical old Tahm Kench would not have been a Reyna champion. But with the evolution that this champion has gone on with that mini rework and everything, I actually think it's slightly Reyna like a favored champion. Like, I can see where the idea would come for him as a player. We've seen fantastic success on that Rel over the last few games when he has been able to play that champion. Maybe not always getting wins on Rel, but still has been looking pretty fresh on it. The engage opportunity that Tahm Kench now has, especially with that mini rework, really is kind of fits into that same kind of realm, but it's against Fujimoto, who's been having a really good time, and Yuki has not been a souring point for Burning Core as he has been for other weeks, other months, other seasons, really, for Burning Core. At the moment, he's actually been pretty good. What is more surprising for me is how much faith that Blitzcrank's son has, but he doesn't he doesn't look at nameplates, he doesn't look at teams, he just looks at who's going to win and the champions in question. So that's, God bless him. I wish I could be like him.
I'm still surprised he has such little faith in a dive comp just in general, though. Looking at how these two teams come together, I mean, like, even if you were to take the nameplates away, it's just super favoring, it looks like, the Hawks for a majority of this game. But I feel like once we get to those level 6 and especially those level 11 power spikes from the Burning Core side, once they're going to be able to pull that trigger, I don't really see the Hawks having much earnest around the map.
Yeah, and I mean, this really kind of comes into the element of, does Kanatsu actually really win this game? How does he fare in the 1v1 versus the Camille versus Graves matchup? And has there been a souring point? But Fujimoto finds that Zenith Blade and then bit more poke. punish.
We're not getting all-ins, not at this stage of the game. I think it's still a little bit too early, especially when everyone has their summoners and those pots available. Although, when the junglers run into each other, that could be a little bit different right now. Flawless going for the re-engage, gets the flash out of Dasher follow-up. Actually will get first blood, but it comes at a price. Jungler from mid laner as the fight continues. Dice and Blank going at it. Blank actually opting to run away despite being double buffed. That is because Reyna was making their way up alongside that Burning Core duo, and that will scare the rest of the Hawks away.
Yeah, and more importantly, the one that got the kill there was going to be Flawless, getting the first blood before actually fooling themselves. Now, that would normally be not an ideal spot to be in, but actually, no, my point is actually completely destroyed because I really wanted Dice to be the living one here. No, doesn't matter. Just really well played. They blew both of their flashes really early on, which actually prevented any form of follow-up, and Flawless was actually tanking a lot of this, which was fantastic because realistically, that's what the Diana should do with her W, but I mean, you're going to struggle to really get through both a Hecarim and a Vex really early on, especially pre-6 for Diana Yasuo, so not too surprising how that outcome did went. Though it was really good to see, though, the agency from the side of Burning Core's bot lane kind of already making those rotations around, and that's something we've seen from Burning Core, we really yet to see from the side of the Fukuoka SoftBank HAWKS Gaming.
It's interesting, though, because, like, at the tail end of it all, I don't feel like that's necessarily been terrible for the Hawks as well, because while it does accelerate Burning Core a fair bit, especially getting that kill onto Dasher in particular, the fact that Blank gets a little bit accelerated, and I want to go back to my point how Blank might have to be that focal point for this Hawks side through that early and mid-game, it might give them some more map earnest a little bit later into this matchup, especially if Blink can kind of keep that momentum going. Yet for now, though, when you take a look at the map, particularly around that dragon, it still is Burning Core looking to establish themselves first. They were the first ones to kind of get some wards about, and now Reyna has only been recently able to follow it up. So it's a little bit tit for tat at this stage. Burning Core just feels that one small step ahead, although disrupting that back will help.
He's done it twice now. It's like Dice, after the first one, you know you're on vision, right? And then he just does it again and gets stopped again, and he's just wasted all this time. So much time has been wasted on a cannon wave. Dice.
Yep.
What the F? He's still staying!
Problem. Yeah, well, I mean, he can't really back off now because the rest of the team is getting set up for the dragon, and he does not have a teleport. Instead, opting for the ignite. Fight is breaking out as Blake going right after Yuhi, who forces the flash over the wall. Now Flawless is going to be that target. Is forced to jump on Blake to evade, but here comes the mid laner of Dasher. Gets that first kill onto Flawless, and the follow-up will go all in favor of the Hawks. It's a triple for the mid laner.
Yeah, and Dice, this whole situation is actually completely avoided if you back when he pokes you that first time, because you would have come back, you wouldn't have had 6. Okay, that's a very fair thing to say. Dasher would have been the one with 6th advantage. Honestly, though, with that information alone, they should be realizing that as he's coming out of this wave in topside, you can already tell that Dasher has hit 6. So as he's rotating around, like panic should be already hitting for the side of Burning Core, going, when their mid laner gets here, we are already disadvantaged. The fact that it comes in, I mean, fantastic performance. Really strong there by Dasher. And, I mean, it was really well set up by the side of the Fukuoka SoftBank HAWKS. So, I mean, thumbs up. Good
Moments
start.
of brilliance.
This is probably the best start they've ever had. Really.
Moments of brilliance, Swan. It's like I was saying before. They'll have these flash moments where their decision-making will be there.
It's not been that good, though. It's not been this good.
I'm just saying, I've seen little things, and I will agree, this is maybe the best start that they've had. Now all they're going to have to do is close it off, and I don't know if they're going to be able to. I do feel like that should be the wake-up check for Burning Core. A lot of that fight felt sunken cost fallacy to me as to why they were sticking around.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Yuki, because Yuki blast planted back over for the fundamentally no reason. He was already pretty low. They weren't going to win that fight anyway. Fujimoto, instead of deciding to keep running down after Zenith blading in, he could have...
boy. Oh, dog pile on Dasher. That's going to be an easy kill.
That's an effective one, and that's the combo. Right, that's just the combo. Shutdown, gold, going on to Flawless, who is really going to be getting accelerated as the jungler here. So he's going to be matching Blank in a lot of spots, but I feel like some of that gold you would have liked to have gone on to Dice at this moment in time. But hey, it's early game. Fine. Don't worry about it.
They were waiting for this for a good long while. I'm actually a little bit surprised that like Dasher kind of didn't suss that one out a little bit earlier. But yeah, that 1-2-3 combo, it's so much damage so quick, and it's one of those most frustrating things I feel like as that mid laner, because you get hit with one bit of CC and you might as well just lift your hands up. Then that steal was not nice.
Ah, I love it when players do stuff like that. But hey, on the other side, Blank is doing the exact same to him, but with the blue buff. So net gain to the side of the Hawks. Oh, absolutely. Because
Flawless's one was more styled.
Oh no, but
Flawless
look at what's happening here in the bot lane. That's the thing. It's one object. It's like, oh, it's micro things happening here and there. Flawless is going to be able to take the blue buff on the other side. I mean, Kanatsu is completely fine with this. His lane is getting pushed into him. But Marble is the one that's actually going to be the huge benefactor of this because of having Blank on that bot side pressure. It forced off Fujimoto and Yuhi away from the turret.
And now they're going to get the dragon as well, as all that gold being funneled into Marble. So a trade that the Hawks will happily take. But I go back to which one's better. I don't know. Flawless's steal, I think, was a lot nicer looking. Like, at least for the style points, right? That's got to accredit something.
Style points don't equal wins, which is probably the saddest thing that Dasher's whole career could partly be about. I mean, man looks so great in a lot of replays, but then you look at the amount of wins he's had in his career, and it's like, it's not enough, man. It's just not enough. Especially over these last few years with the Hawks. Feels like he should have had more wins than losses, but hey ho. Hey ho.
We'll see where we go from here. I mean, at this stage right now, despite that little bit of a comeback from Burning Core, that three-man play before, the Hawks do feel like they're in control of this game. They're still in control of their destiny in a lot of ways. They have a nice 1.5k lead. Pressure, though, once again being put on that mid lane again by that sort of trio setting themselves up. But this time, with a nice little roam from Reyna, they actually are able to keep Dasher safe, and that's a little bit of in-game adaptation. Now they're able to rotate that pressure towards that bot side, and Yuhi have to be a little bit careful here. They do have Flawless up above, so I doubt anything crazy will happen.
Yeah, and I actually really like this from Flawless, because remember, yeah, while they are 1.5k currently up at this moment in time, there is a Rift Herald currently sitting on Flawless. Dice is a little out of spot here.
Oh, that's going to be awkward. It will cause Flawless to go in and actually provides an escape for Dice. They pick up a quick kill and just not enough damage out of Blank. Dasher goes down.
Better vision control and just knowing where the objectives are and having a spidey sense feeling that something might not be right collapsed perfectly, and it meant that they were to do this. What's also important is they've still got that Rift Herald, so wherever Flawless really wants to pop it down, there's a bunch more gold about to come on. Probably about, call it about 500 gold that they should get from 2 Rift Heralds, and probably a wave typically as well. I mean, Flawless is here.
Oh no. This could be really bad as we see Flawless going to work, although Blank's going to provide a bit of backup right now for the Graves in the top lane, and Flawless will get trampled down. Ray Farkey a little bit late to the party, not going to win this 2v1 despite the Hextech ultimatum. It's going to be another kill going to Blank.
I don't really know what Burning Core were planning there, unless they really thought Blank wasn't going to be there, but you know, you've tracked his pathing. You were doing identical stuff with Fujimoto.
Yeah, but that's the Tom Kench.
Yeah, which you talked about in the pick and ban phase.
That's exactly why I like the Kench pick. When you're against so much dive, it's that perfect response in situations like that. But going back to the top lane, and in a lot of ways, when you take a look at like these team compositions and how things are playing out, I feel like Burning Core was just like you guys on the desk right now, coming into this expecting the Hawks to kind of just roll over in a lot of ways. Let's just take the dive comp. Let's just take fight.
No. This is Burning Core, mate. No. This Hawks are playing well. Burning Core are playing bad. Like, I completely give this to Hawks at the moment. Like, this is just like, what? Can you explain the topside thing that just happened with with Flawless and Ray Farkey? Like,
yeah, I'm saying it's big. It's the like big brother not respecting little brother situation. They just think they can get away with it because of who they're against.
I mean, it just I don't even know if it's that at this moment in time. They tracked Blank's pathing. They knew exactly where it was. Remember, in the bot side, they even out-rotated in the mid. Flawless got to there first, so they actually got the kill on Dasher. He then rotates around. You have to expect Blank's going to be following behind you. That is his jungle. And then they just kind of leave it. A lot of time is being wasted here.
Both the fights they lost were situations where they had all the information to know, hey, we probably shouldn't take this, and still committed anyways.
Yep. Marble is
standing on a ward
Incredibly scared.
and about to die.
Oh my god! They just
The moves! The moves! Blake! Oh, too little, too late.
And actually, importantly noted, that went on to Yuhi, that kill. So that's a lot of gold onto Xayah that really needs it at this moment in time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Burning Core, they're in a situation where any little pick that they can get, they will go for. I find it interesting that, though, 2 of their key picks that they've been able to find has required 3 members of their team just kind of, again, picking off a solo laner in those situations. I was a little bit surprised, though, in both of them, though, that the Hawks kind of had that laner solo in these sort of plays. As you watch this again, Marble even stayed back and waited because they didn't have any vision as to where everyone was.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely nothing wrong by Marble. Their spidey senses were tingling. It was execution fault, really, from the side of Burning Core there. When the knock-up happened, you have an enough time, in my eyes, there should have been enough time where Flawless with the Diana ult, Fujimoto should have been able to Zenith Blade Q into their ultimate, all in the same kind of time frame, because there is the pull back, which is about 1.3 seconds, if I remember my stats rightly. Granted, I am recalling from pre-Dyna rework, so it doesn't matter. But oh god, Yuki.
Yuhi will have an ultimate available. We could see the Feather Storm, but they're kind of getting thrown back right now, so I'm expect to see it immediately. But Blank's already on the backside. Teleport's coming through. It's going to be too little, too late, and it will be matched as well. Ray Farkey's going to try to escape, but the Onslaught of Shadows does make contact. Another kill is found by Marble, who's going to be able to try and chase Ray Farkey down. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, this one's going to go in favor of Dice. A nice little solo kill to respond to the chaos in the bot side.
Well, it's all falling apart for Burning Core's bot lane, who have just... well, I mean, this is a sign of maybe things to come, I guess, for the rest of this split as we go into that 3rd round robin. I really hope I'm not setting up for a horrible omen there, but I mean, it just feels like Hawks are, like, adapting to potential scrim results. And the reason I say that, Formal, is we watch this lovely 1v1 play because, okay, so you get the full ultimate down, you're not getting punished through a tower dive, which is typically how that works. Really nice land on the ultimate there from Dasher, but I mean, just not able to have the same damage output as Dice has. Really nicely done, though, played by both mid laners there, though obviously Dice having a 2-level advantage now over this Vex is a slight thing to think about. Level 11 obviously was there for Dice, not there for Dasher. Kind of why it worked out so well. But ultimately, Formal, moments of brilliance from Burning Core do not equal a win, and I'm slightly concerned that Hawks have figured out how to beat Burning Core in scrims, and now they're just doing it on the stage this time, because it feels like they're just playing through the bot lane and kind of going, Kinatsu, can you nullify what Rayfarki will do in the top lane? He goes, I have 1 blue mana, I have 1 colorless, tap them both. Yep, I can nullify him. I got it, guys. Don't worry.
I think a big reason, too, that, like, reason why the Hawks have been able to get so much pressure on that bot side actually has to do with what's been happening up top as well. Granted, right now we're not seeing too much of it, but Ray Farkey has been invisible this game, despite, you know, having that teleport. That was the first time I realistically saw it used.
That was my nullify analogy.
Yeah. It's good. It's working really, really well as the collateral damage gets thrown right into a wind wall. That's going to prompt an engage. Flawless. Kinatu, though, able to kind of flash to safety. Now could be looking for a re-engage, but the rest of the team has to arrive first. You do have Fujimoto kind of waiting in the wings, but they might be the one who gets jumped upon. The tower does fall, but the Onslaught of Shadows will split everyone up, and you can see way out of position now is Dice, who is getting jumped upon, but the re-engage comes through to save the mid laner, but it comes at the cost of Flawless, and with the chase down 2 goes Dice, down goes Fujimoto. Another 3 kills for the Hawks.
Corp choose to do that. I need a rewatch for the replay there, but I'm 95% sure they could have just left Dice as a lamb for the slaughter, and kind of just accepted bygones be bygones and then leave it. Okay, so Fujimoto was already wicked out of this picture at this moment in time, but obviously they want to go for the push, they want to go for the engage, they do a lot. Important thing to note, obviously, though, Dice does have his flash here, Flawless doesn't, so they decide to rotate around. Obviously, they get collapsed on Fujimoto. Fujimoto and Flawless probably could have got out of this. Yes, they absolutely could have. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm happy to say They couldn't let a member die. They wanted to be brothers in arms and go down together. Even if this is a video game and it would have been better to just kind of just say, mate, you're in a spot on your own. Just accept it.
Sunken cost fallacy strikes again.
Really does feel like that. Really does feel like that,
The
mate.
entire game, I think, can be described like that for Burning Core. They don't want to take losing fights. They have the confidence that they can bring each one of these around, but they've proven that they haven't. And what's frustrating about that last one was they had already gotten the objective that they needed. So unless they thought they could realistically turn that entire fight around, there was no reason for that re-engage.
Mate, when you play Turn 1 Goblin Guide, you've committed yourself to all-in aggro. Burning Core have committed themselves to a pile deck. They're a pile at this moment in time, and they're sometimes drawing the cards, and it looks so good. That's how a few of their rotations have looked flawless, pun intended. On the other side, though, they also just kind of draw the other half of their deck, where it's just kind of just random stuff. They don't have the right lands for it. They're trying to special summon, but they don't have it. They've got an evolve for their next level Pokemon, but they don't quite have the in-between form, so they can't cheat their way there. It's all over the place for Burning Core, and for Hawks, this is super promising. And remember, this is something we mentioned on the desk. A win here for the Hawks changes the dynamic of the third round robin for them and how everything will go. Whereas on the flip side, Burning Core don't want any unnecessary hiccups. If you go on a loss streak now, Axis and Hawks could take you out. That is a non-zero chance. And Burning Core, let's not have that. Let's just be safe. Let's get a few of those guaranteed wins, and a win here over the Hawks would be one of those. But at this moment in time, it doesn't look like it's a guarantee. If anything, it looks like it's not even an insurance policy. It looks like you need to be calling 911 for an ambulance. But for you guys, not for them.
Well, at this stage, things could go their way, at least in terms of slowing down the Dragon, because they have that bot lane kind of shoving in, and instead of counteracting with the push up top, nope, never mind, hold the thought, we have a fight, because why not? As you can see, Ray Farkey trying to join in late, but already Dice is down. Meanwhile, Reyna was able to escape, and that is massive Super Mega Death Rocket blowing up the front lines of Burning Core. Yuhi is going to get run down as well underneath that tier 1 tower. That just leaves Flawless, who has to play just that, but cannot. A ace for the Hawks.
So much damage. Marble, take the bow from Academy to the main stage. And this, everybody, was the Marble we had talked about. This is the power that comes from a Jinx. But honestly, this was Hawks looking so damn clean. But obviously, this starts out with Flawless going for that engage onto Marble, the player that we're mentioning here. But after that, Marble, I'm going to keep highlighting him for this whole play, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. He is able to get around that wind wall that gets 3 auto attacks, which gets it onto Dice, and afterwards, Super Mega Death Rocket just takes it all out. I mean, Kinatsu here, I want to just highlight, because this is an important, immediately engage onto Flawless, knowing he's already going to win this 1v1. He's got a 2-level advantage. Also, Graves in a 1v1 scenario versus Diana, it's just never going to work unless the Diana either has lifesteal, which you don't really get outside of your passive with the jungle stuff, as well as also a book to kind of cut the healing of Kinatsu. He had that. He was nullifying the grievous wounds. Still wasn't enough. Kinatsu's going to be an issue now on these side lanes. I'm getting worried for Burning Core now. Formal, what are they going to do?
I mean, I'm not worried at all. I called this the second you guys were just talking up how the Hawks had no chance whatsoever. I was like, I don't know. I feel like this one's going to be different. And yeah, for Burning Core, this is a big problem right now because they put so much effort into shutting down Dasher. After Dasher got that early triple kill, we saw so much pressure in that mid lane in response. Up top, everything has been going Kanatu's way, and Kanatu has been silently having a fantastic game against Ray Farkey. And then we've been watching the bot lane all game long. We know how that one's been going. So at this stage, the Hawks, they're just in complete control. I mean, 8-1-4 on Marble, who, as you mentioned, played that last fight so cleanly, was able to avoid all that damage and without being devoured by Reyna. That's the most impressive part to me. Like, they dove on Marble, who was able to escape on their own. I'm pretty sure not even using cleanse in that situation.
Gale Force, baby. That's what it does. You just have so much mobility and ways of being an immobile champion. But with a flash and a Gale Force, suddenly you got a dash and a flash. You can get yourself out of sticky situations. And I mean, that's what Marble was good at doing in Academy, and it
Mhm.
looks like he's starting to translate that all over. And I love the point that you set up because, yeah, Burning Core engaged heavily and put a lot of focus onto Dasher, who has just soaked up all this pressure from Burning Core. Which, if you look at the CS leads, okay, there's a huge lead there for Dice. Fantastic. But I look at Marble. Okay, he's got a lot more gold than his counterpart on the other side. What about Kanatsu? That's at least like 2k just alone from looking at it. Just looking at items and then kills and gold and everything else. We know he also got a few turret platings as well. He's got turrets in top as well. Like, everything just feels like it's going great for the side of the Hawks and Burning Core. I mean, this is 8k down, almost 9k at a point, and with this turret, it will be 9k, and where do you come back? I really don't know now, outside of a miracle push, and this is a way of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you find the sort of scraps as
Probably not
Kanatsu
anymore.
will go golden in time for Blink to have a look and say, you know what? I don't want that, and walk away from that one. So they get one pick. They find the Graves. That's
Okay.
a start. It's got to be more picks like that, though.
It's a shutdown. He had a 350 shutdown gold. That's important. But did you really want it to go on to Dice? I guess you're okay with the gold going there. It will get a third item completion coming in for them, so it will be a bunch of gold. And 3 items for a Yasuo is very big. You need to get him to 16 as well, and then afterwards, you don't have to worry so much. Afterwards, you really want to inject a lot of gold into the Xayah. And frankly, you're put in a really awkward spot because while you are a dive comp, you want Rayfaki to be playing these side lanes. He can't play side lanes.
No.
He will
But
die to
Dice
Canucks.
can.
Dice
But Dice
can.
can.
But you
And that's
want
why I
to
think-
have Dice with the combo with Diana, though. That's the issue.
I don't. Do we have to abandon that part of the combo though, and kind of rely it on either Rayfaki onto Yohi though? Because like at this stage, I feel like Dice is the only one who you can even have on the side lanes, and the side lanes is how you're going to get the Hawks to spread out. So unfortunately, I feel like Dice and Rayfaki almost have to switch roles to get Burning Core back in this game, which feels awkward and feels terrible. That's not what you want to do. But I feel like that's the only way they're going to get any semblance of side lane pressure.
I don't disagree with you at all, but the issue is, like, even if you do that, you're just going to get completely ripped apart because look at this. Dragon's coming up. We haven't even mentioned it, but this is Soul. This is sole point for the side of Hawks. They've been very casually and quietly getting those first 2 dragons. Nothing really of note. We haven't really seen many fights around it. Obviously, there was a huge fight around for that Hex Tech point. Soul points up here, so they're going to look at it. But yeah, Flawless is on that flank. Dash is waiting for him.
Dasher. Yeah, and this is going to be a dead Flawless. Found out before the fight even starts, and that's going to open the floodgates. Onslaught of Shadows straight down the middle. Solar Flare actually does make contact onto Kanatsu, but that's not who you want. You want to find Marble, but no one is on him. Meanwhile, the Graves of Kanatsu is actually on a bit of a spree. Down below as well, Dasher goes golden, and Yuhi can only just stand around as the second gold comes through. Oh, great way to avoid the root. And actually, Dasher's going to flash for this, miss the abilities completely and go down. Kind of trade 1-for-1, but I don't think that matters, Swan, because look at the base, look at Marble. This game is over.
It's in tatters, Burning Core, hang your head in shame. You had some good moments, but moments are something the Hawks are familiar with. Form mentioned it before, and I think they're going to be getting a win now.
Oh, the aspiration attempt right now coming from Flawless and Fujimoto. They buy some time. It's not going to be enough. Marble's just kiting on their own while the rest of the team takes care of that Nexus. Yeah, this game is done and dusted. The Hawks get their 4th win of the season.
What a performance. This is huge for the side of the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming. I'm so happy for them. They've needed a win over one of the top 5 teams. No, hey, until I see results, I ain't going to get on that train again. I did a full week on that train, and then I got off promptly after the first round robin where it looked horrible formal. And I don't think I'm wrong saying that, but this second round robin, they've got 3 wins. That's actually a complete change around. 1 win in the first one, 3 wins in the second one, 5 wins in the third one, ladies and gentlemen. That's how it works, right, Formal?
Yep, absolutely. You keep going up by increments. And no, you weren't wrong in criticizing them. You were wrong in assuming I was on that train before. That's what put me on the train, and now I can hold that over your head. No, it was a fantastic win.
Maybe I set you up.
Yep, you did. You set me up to look great, and I thank you for it. Fantastic win for the Hawks. We're going to throw to a break right now while we kind of decompose and compress what just actually happened there, because that game was a little bit unexpected, to say it lightly. And when we return, we'll have more action, so do stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody, and Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks. Maybe we do just need to berate them on the desk before they go into the game formal, because they showed up. And I know, Lexi, you and rightly say that it was just as much Burning Core's failure to execute than it was the Hawks' ability to execute that got them that win. But still credit where it's due.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. They did. I mean, they got some good picks, but good moments don't convince me that you deserve to win games. But the side of the Hawks, they said, hey, Master One, I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm not picking it up, though. We're actually just going to dumpster on this team with a comp that we drafted that shouldn't work on paper, but if we just win everywhere on the map, it doesn't matter. And that's what they did.
And I also want to push back just a little bit on the fact that, the Hawks just had to show up and they'll get that win because of Burning Core was playing. Marble earned that win. Those footsies, those mechanics, 100% Marble was able to take that game over in several of those team fights. And you don't win that game if you have a different ADC who's a little bit more stagnant in that position.
Yeah, that man was playing. I swear he played at least some StarCraft 2 before moving over to League, because yeah, that stutter stepping was impeccable.
Well, I mean, what we've got on the broadcast at the moment is probably one of the defining moments where the sunk cost fallacy, as Formal so rightly put it, really came in for the Burning Core, where it's like, look at the amount of damage that DICE was just kind of taking for so long in that moment. And it's like a lot of these moments kept happening throughout the game, and it just kind of put the side of the Hawks further and further behind. And this is really that team fight that it all fell apart in. DICE going so deep, not getting it, and then afterward, this is game. This is actually game at this moment in time.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The crazy thing to me in both of these fights is the fact that Marble gets through them untouched. Even in that first one, Marble wasn't even who everyone was diving on from Burning Core. They were after Kinatsu for some reason, and Marble was just able to stand there and auto away at Fujimoto as they were running to get the in-your-face stun. And this was the fight that actually did win the game.
This is the fight that won it, but a lot of the time, I'm going to be asking more than anything else, Formal, and also Brackish. Where was Ray Farkey this game?
He just seemed, yeah. he was basically completely defunct. He came in, dropped a couple of Hextech ultimatums, but nothing to write home about at all.
And none of those ultimatums were ever on marble. Nothing was ever on marble in all of those team fights. And yeah, absolutely, Ray Farkey completely invisible. And without that like side lane pressure, there was nothing really, unfortunately, that Burning Core could do to play around their team comp, because if they wanted control of the map, they had to move around that Yasuo. And if the Yasuo's not in position for the combo, well, then they can't get the picks, even when a team like the Hawks, who I will admit, there were plenty of times they were out of position, got caught out, and there were plenty of times where they were out of position and didn't get caught out because they couldn't get that combo together.
It almost felt like this match was some kind of mono blue mirror, but Burning Core's mono blue deck was one that was just entirely card draw spells, and then the two card Diana
With
Yasuo
only a
combo.
Frost Titan to win.
the-
That was their whole win condition. Not even a
Yeah,
Leviathan or
exactly.
something stupid like that. No.
They find the
Yeah,
two card combo and they try and execute it, and Marble's just there with like a mana leak, 2 counter spells, and it's just like they're casting all of their card draw spells, and it's like resolves.
Well,
No.
to beat this dead meta down,
Marble had
Yeah.
Quicken. He just went Quicken, and then everything he cast was instant, remember? So it just didn't matter. And that's how he got 8-1 and whatever it was at the end of that game. I mean, he was a mammoth. He was absolutely huge on that Jinx. Like 4 items by the end of it in a 26-minute. This was a 26. This was a fast game from the Hawk. We haven't even talked about that yet.
look,
God.
all I'm saying is that I love this MTG, analogy you're doing. You have that wrong deck, and you even said it before we went into this bracket sprint. No, the Hawks were playing that Naya runes deck, and they just top decked all of those runes in a row and just kept throwing them on marble again. Give him the haste, give him the trample, give him that little bit of life link as well, and just have him bash on through. And yeah, when you combo out like that, you can accelerate the game, and you can have your fastest game yet. And for a team that has been having these strong starts, but then falling off late, it's so important for them to keep and carry on that momentum. So to see them do that now, such a promising side for the squad.
Very promising indeed. And coming off the back of this, what I will define the Sengoku Burning Core SoftBank Hawks love triangle that we've had over the past 3 days, they've each played against each other now, and we see that a lot of people, I think, would not believe, despite their downward trajectory, that Burning Core would be the team to come out of that situation the worst.
Yeah, no, you know what? I will agree with you on that one. There's been a lot of moments with the side of Burning Core where it's like, yeah, but they're not that bad. But then a lot of what are pre-split power ranking kind of prediction, like bottom of the top teams, like 5th, 4th, 6th, that's where we kind of put them. We're starting to see that now. We're starting to see that the bot lane of Burning Core is going to be an issue if better bot lanes execute and have jungle rotations. And hey, if Blank can't get going, that can be an issue. And if you nullify mid or top, they just have like no other way of playing through the games.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's a rough one, especially as we get later and later into this third round robin as well,
Yeah.
because these are exploitable sort of faults that this team can have. Because as soon as you recognize, hold on, if we can only shut down one of these, either Dice or Ray Farkey, and the team crumbles, let's just go for it. Let's like put more effort into that. And that's something that I can see, a lot of who should be their biggest rivals look to exploit. Like when you look at Kresk and Sengoku, and even Axis, even possibly, if they can find that same sort of path to victory, all of a sudden Burning Core, they could be seeing themselves knocked out of that playoff position.
And now there's tape.
Oof.
Well, what I was going to say, make an analogy. The Burning Core is having the reverse trajectory to Rascal Jesters, like because Jesters were a little bit slow out of the gate,
Yeah.
but now they have really they've turned it on, and you could almost say they're closing on Exodia mode at this point. Whereas Burning Core came out of the gate really, really, really strong, but now they're falling off quite spectacularly.
I'm really scared for Axis next game. Like,
yeah,
sucks to be there. If that's what if that's the way that the Hawks are going at the moment, and Burning Core are kind of down at the moment, and we're saying that Axis are currently kind of more middling, maybe a bit up, maybe a bit down. Rascal Jester are just to the moon, right?
Yeah, it's Why did I could have sounded
Hawks.
so smart? What's the word? The line that goes up more and more and more the longer time goes. I could have sounded
Ascending?
clever.
Yeah.
I could have
Ascension?
sounded exponentially. Thank you, production.
Ah.
The exponential growth of Rascal
Oh,
Jesters. That's what I was trying to say. Anyway, any
You should
final
read
thoughts
more
on
of those
game 1?
Encyclopedia Britannicas behind you,
Yeah,
mate.
agreed.
You gotta
I've been
get back to
reading
the
too
books.
many. I keep pushing bits out of there. That's clearly the problem. All right.
Okay.
Any final thoughts, gents, before we throw it to another break ahead of, as we said, the foretold Axes versus Rascal Jesters game?
Yeah, I will say this, all right? Everyone, again, I can already hear it starting. You're ready to pile on Axis just like you piled on the Hawks, okay? So when we
Yes.
go to this break, I want everyone to reflect about what happened before, and remember, nothing here is going to be taken for granted.
I'm reflecting.
Good.
We'll go to a break. I hope you also reflect during this